You are Locked On Knicks POSTCAST, part of Locked On Sports New York on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
All right, the road trip finally comes to an end, and it does so miserably. Knicks fall to the Hawks in Atlanta. That's two straight defeats for New York. Final score 121-116. Karl Anthony Towns led the way with a big 34, but it wasn't enough. Jalen Brunson chipped in with 21. New York finishes the trip 2-2 after back-to-back defeats in Houston and Atlanta to wrap things up. They're now below 500 on the season at 3-4, returning home for Milwaukee on Friday. Hello, everyone. I'm Jay Berman. If you're a New Yorker, you might recognize my work. If not, welcome aboard. I've spent more than 2 decades in the biz, everything from TV to web to radio. You can follow me on X at Jay Berman. That's JayBerman. Welcome to the Locked On Knicks postcast, both on the Locked On Sports New York YouTube channel and the Locked On Knicks podcast feed. The postcast gives you a place to hang out after every single Knicks game. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. We'll chat everything Towns and Brunson, both excellent in the loss. Once again, the 3-ball was prominent in the Knicks offense. We'll discuss as they go bombs away pretty much all night. The defense was the concern tonight as Atlanta pulled away with a late run, a 13-1 late fourth quarter run, really sealed the deal. All that coming up on the postcast. Today's episode is sponsored by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Also want to mention your favorite podcast now has a newsletter. Introducing the Locked On Knicks daily newsletter. One stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com, and start your day with the all-new free Locked On Knicks newsletter. All right, we are live and we are ready to go. Knicks fall to the Hawks. Final score 121-116. Very difficult stretch run in the fourth quarter for the Knicks. A 13-1 Atlanta run. And that was really it. The Knicks, as we said, wind up the road trip 2-2. They got wins in Detroit and Miami and losses in Houston and Atlanta before they return home for Milwaukee on Friday. We'll get to the schedule later on. As we said, Karl Anthony Towns, 11 of 23 from the floor, had 5 3-pointers and pumped in 34 to lead New York. He had 34 points, 16 rebounds, and 3 blocks, but was a minus 12. As for Towns, in 15 career appearances before today against Atlanta, he was averaging 23 points, 12 rebounds, and 4 assists. Well, those numbers are going up. As we said, 34, 16, and 3, 6 straight double-doubles. Now for Karl Anthony Towns, however, it comes in the loss because of the ineffectiveness of the defense late. As we said, a 13-1 run late. And one of the big plays, and Kenny Albert on the broadcast referenced it multiple times, the Knicks won both their challenges, or at least 2 challenges tonight, the second of which came in that fourth quarter, about midway through the fourth quarter. The challenge was a successful challenge by the Knicks. At that point in time, after the challenge, they had a 5-point lead and the basketball, and that's where Atlanta took over. As we said, a 13-1 run, and the shorthanded Knicks, who were still without Precious Achiuwa and Mitchell Robinson and Cameron Payne, well, the bench needs work. Only 3 guys came off the bench tonight, Sims, McBride, and Kolek, and we'll talk about McBride. Deuce had a whale of a game. Was a plus 13 off the bench, the highest rated plus minus Knick tonight. But again, the problem seems to be depth and the bench and how many minutes these guys are all going to play. As for the starting 5, and we'll get to the points, the double-digit points once again, Bridges played 39 minutes. OG played 41 minutes. Towns 38. Brunson 37. Josh Hart 38. So all 5 of these guys are essentially playing for most of the game. And that's going to catch up with you, especially playing a physical brand of basketball, which Tibbs loves so much. Deuce McBride played 28 minutes. So it just goes to show the Knicks are hurting depth-wise. Maybe Matt Ryan, when he gets ready to go, of course, he was a signing, was on the bench tonight, did not play, but expect him to get some run coming up. But again, the second challenge, which featured a 5-point lead and possession, just wasn't enough late in the fourth quarter for the Knicks, as the Hawks outscored the Knicks in the fourth quarter 32-27. That's a difference of 5 points. And guess what? That was the difference in the game, 121-116, as the Hawks improved to 4-5, while the Knicks fall to 3-4. As we said, 6 consecutive games now that all 5 Knicks starters have put up double digits. That came late when Mikal Bridges pumped in a short jumper that gave him 10 on the night. 15 for OG, as we said, 34 for Towns. Brunson had 21. Josh Hart chipped in with 14. As we said, every single one of the 5 Knicks starters pumped in at least 10 points. That ties the team record set back in 1989 of 6 straight games. These 6 straight games this year, all done by the same 5 starters, which is also worthy of note. But again, the Knicks have shortened their bench with the subtractions, if you will, of Ochua and Mitchell Robinson. And obviously, Cameron Payne did not play tonight, which is why McBride got all the minutes. Tyler Kolek got 9 minutes as well, hit a couple of 3-pointers. But when basically everybody in the starting 5 is averaging 40-plus minutes, well, the team's going to wear down at some point, and they need to get 1 healthy and 2 deeper. And I think that's where Matt Ryan comes in. Again, he did not play in this one, but he will moving forward. As we said, the Knicks wind up the road trip 2-2, and now they're 3-4 overall. Of course, the blowout loss to the Celtics to start things off, and then they really spread things out there. The win in Indiana, the loss to Cleveland, Miami and Detroit were wins. Houston and Atlanta were losses. And as we said, Friday, the Knicks finally return home 48 hours from now to face the Milwaukee Bucks. We'll get into that as well. We talked about the plus minus, and it's a theme on the show because it's a very telling stat. Mikal Bridges was a minus 15 tonight. Josh Hart was a minus 14. And yes, we're all Knicks fans here. We're pulling for the Knicks. But let me just say this in regard to Towns and Hart. Man, they've got a lot to say after almost nearly every single play that goes against their wishes. Just a lot to say. And I know that's a theme throughout the league. And basically every player complains. And I have no problems with complaints. It's just incessant. And it's frustrating because sometimes it takes the Knicks out of plays. Anyways, Hart and Towns, and even Jalen Brunson to an extent, who got in a little dust up there with Daniels. But Brunson and, Hart and Towns, with a little Brunson trickled in there, really do have a lot to say. And it's funny because OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges are basically silent. They're emotionless, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, especially when you need to knock down a 3-pointer, but you get the point. Lot to say. A lot to say. Trae Young, who of course was injured in the last game against the Celtics, a 30-point loss to Boston, by the way, for Atlanta, scored just 2 points in that game, left with rib soreness. Well, he did take 21 shots tonight, but he pumped in 23. The Nick Killer at it again. Yes, only 7 of 21. Did hit 3 3-pointers. However, dished out 10 assists and some huge baskets late. Johnson of Atlanta was a plus 26 to lead all scorers. And again, the French rookie Risa Shea scored 33, 6 of 10 3-pointers early and often from Zachary Risa Shea. for Atlanta. Again, he pumped in 33, was a plus 14 tonight. As we said, only 3 Knicks were plus minus. They were all on the bench. Jericho Sims, Deuce McBride, and Tyler Kolek, all plus. All 5 starters were minus. So again, 121-116, the final score. We'll break down the road trip. We'll talk about Karl Anthony Towns and all 5 starters after this. All right. Hey, guys, your sex life is important, but I get it. Your schedule is busy. You don't have the time to go to the doctor to get treated for ED. So listen up. Through HIMS, you can get a personalized ED treatment without leaving home. HIMS is changing men's healthcare by providing you with access to affordable sexual health treatments from the comfort of your couch. HIMS provides access to a range of doctor-trusted ED treatments like chewable hard mints, Viagra and Cialis, and their generics for up to 95% cheaper. All you have to do is answer a series of questions, and a medical provider will determine the right treatment option for you. Your medication ships directly to you in discreet packaging for free. No insurance necessary, and there's just one low price to cover everything from treatments to ongoing care. With hundreds of thousands of trusted subscribers, HIMS can help you find the ED option that works for you. Start your free online visit today at hims.com/lockedon. That's hims.com/lockedon for your personalized ED treatment options. hims.com/lockedon. The products mentioned are chewable compounded products which are not approved by or verified for safety or effectiveness by the FDA. Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See the website for details and important safety information. A subscription is required. Price varies based on the product and the subscription plan. All right, we are about halfway through this Locked On Knicks postcast. Knicks taking on the Hawks in Atlanta, and it did not go well. Atlanta comes out on top. Final score 121-116. The Knicks had beaten the Hawks the last 3 times they've met in Atlanta. This was the first of 4 matchups between the teams this season. Obviously, 2 in Atlanta, 1 more, and then 2 in New York as well coming up later in the season. Not until next year. All right, as we said, all 5 Knicks starters pumped in at least 10 points. That's a 6th consecutive game, which ties the team record where all 5 starters were in double digits. The 3 ball, as we said, prominent again. And the Knicks are really good at shooting threes. Tonight, 22 of 47. That's 47%. They continue to lead the NBA in 3-point shooting percentage. Here's the rub about tonight. 22 of 47 comes after a 1 of 10 start in the first quarter. Knicks couldn't hit the side of a barn, but again, they picked things up. 2 3-pointers for Bridges, 3 for OG, 5 for Towns, 4 for Brunson, 2 for Hart, 4 for McBride, and as we said, Tyler Kolek came in and hit a couple as well. By the way, Kolek has taken 4 3-pointers as a Knick. He's hit them all. The first 4 3-pointers he's taken, he's hit them all. 5 is the Knicks record. All right, as we said, 121-116, the final score. Let's talk scheduling as the Knicks finally get to go home. The last home game they played was October 28th against Cleveland. The Knicks have played just 2 home games, Indiana and Cleveland. They'll finally get a third against Milwaukee Friday night at 7:30 Eastern. However, don't get too comfortable in those garden seats. Right back out the road on Sunday for Indiana. That's a 5 Eastern time start in Indiana on a football Sunday, no less, which is rough. We'll leave it at that. Then on Tuesday, they're in Philadelphia. So after the Bucks on Friday, 1 home game, back out on the road to Indiana and Philadelphia before they finally get a real deal homestand with 4 beginning next Wednesday in exactly a week. Chicago, 2 with Brooklyn and Washington before a West Coast swing where things get real interesting, starting with Phoenix, Utah, and Denver. But again, Milwaukee is the next game. That's Friday night, a home game. Finally, the home crowd gets to see your New York Knicks. As we said, Karl Anthony Towns was excellent once again, a fierce competitor, banging bodies all night. 34 points, as we said, 16 rebounds, 3 blocks, an assist, and a steal. In 16 career appearances against Atlanta now, Cat is averaging over 24, over 13 rebounds, and 4 assists. And overall, 6 straight double-doubles for Karl Anthony Towns, as the Knicks have found their big man in the middle. Unfortunately, points in the paint were too easy to come by for the Atlanta Hawks tonight. They were 45% from the floor, which is average, certainly from an offensive perspective and a defensive perspective, meaning the Knicks. The Knicks did allow 15 three-pointers. As for the 22 that the Knicks hit, the team record for threes in a game is 25. And they casually put up 22 tonight, even with a horrible start. So it gives you an idea of just how soon that 25 three-pointer game mark is going to go down, and it's going to happen soon. As we said in the first game of the season, they shot 63s, only 47 tonight. They connected on 22 of them. That's 47%. And as we said, the number one three-point shooting team percentage-wise in the NBA, your New York Knicks. All right, we'll set you up for the coming days. Again, 121-116, the loss for the Knicks. Built is breaking ground as a neighborhood rewards program that hooks you up with points on your rent. Every month, pay your rent and watch the Built points roll in. Use points to jet off on a dream vacation. Put your points towards a flight or hotel stay with 500 plus airlines and 700,000 plus hotels and properties. You can also use your points to book fitness studio classes, redeem them towards a future rent payment. They're designed to meet your lifestyle. Pay rent hassle-free through the Built Rewards app. Your rent game just got a major upgrade. Built points have been consistently ranked the highest value point currency by the Points Guy and Bankrate. Earn points by paying rent right now when you go to join built.com/LockedOnNBA. That's JOINBILT.com/LockedOnNBA. Make sure to use your URL so they know we sent you. Join built.com/LockedOnNBA to start earning points with your rent payments today. Okay, let's talk game time for a moment. One of my favorite things to do. We've discussed it in the past. No surprise here. It's go see live events, concerts, shows, whatever. Absolute favorite thing to do. Game Time now has a feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It is Game Time. All right, 121-116, the final score. Knicks had 2 challenges tonight. They won them both. However, a pretty impactful challenge. The second one came late in the fourth quarter. The Knicks actually won the challenge. They had the ball and a 5-point lead, and everything crumbled from there. A 10-point swing from that point on. Knicks went from 5 up to 5 down to finish. A 13-1 late run from Atlanta, a 121-116 final score as the Knicks drop below the 500 mark on the season. They're 3-4, 2-3 away They've played just 2 home games, a win against Indiana in a blowout, and then lost to Cleveland 3 nights later in a close one again at the Garden. However, Knicks will return home. They get to face the Milwaukee Bucks on Friday. Should be a difficult yet interesting matchup for the Knicks, despite the fact that Milwaukee is obviously not off to a wonderful start this year. They are 1-6 are the Bucks. Really remarkable. They are 1-6 at this point in time. Dead last, 15th place in the Eastern Conference. And again, it's early. We know that. And the Cavaliers are 8-0 and the Celtics are 7-1. We know that. However, how far can you slip? And at what point do you turn it around? And at what point does Doc Rivers get the boot? We'll talk about Milwaukee again on Friday night. However, the Cavs just don't lose. They're 8-0. Celtics never lose. They're 7-1. Then that's where the Heat and the Knicks slide in. Knicks are 3-4 right now in the 6th spot behind the Nets and Pacers after the loss tonight. Again, 121-116. As for the leading scorers, Karl Anthony Towns, as we said, led the way with 34, pumped in 16 rebounds, grabbed or blocked away 3 shots as well. But unfortunately for Towns and the defense, he was a -12 on the night. To give you a little perspective on that, Atlanta's Johnson was plus 26. But again, minutes a concern, bench and depth a concern. Knicks had just 3 guys come off the bench. Jericho Sims played just 10 minutes. Tyler Kolek played just 9. Now Deuce played 28, which was a huge number tonight. Obviously, Campaign being out is a big reason why Kolek and McBride played as much as they did tonight. But the focus is obviously on the 5 starters, Bridges, Anunoby, Towns, Brunson, and Hart. And they all played nearly 40 minutes, 41 for OG. Karl Anthony Towns had 38, physical 38 minutes. And so a very taxing night for the Knicks. All right, before we get out of here, don't forget your favorite podcast now has a newsletter. Introducing the Locked On Knicks Daily Newsletter. One stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com. Start your day with the all-new free Locked On Knicks newsletter. Good stuff. Also want to mention our partners in crime over at Locked On Knicks, Gavin Shaw and Alex Wolf. They handle all the stuff there. Again, Locked On Knicks. They are great. Follow, subscribe, and enjoy. As we said, 121-116, the final score. Knicks fall to 3-4, 2-3 away. They got 34 from Karl Anthony Towns in the loss, but it wasn't enough. Knicks finish up their 4-game roadie, 2-2. Wins in Miami and Detroit, losses in Houston and Atlanta. They'll now try and snap their first losing streak of the season. They had not lost back-to-back games. Well, that's happened now. Houston and Atlanta are those losses. They'll try and snap the skid Friday night against Milwaukee. And, of course, we've got everything covered on the Locked On Knicks postcast. So, again, until Friday night, have a wonderful night.